In the beginning, there was nothing, but then out of nowhere, God created the whole universe. There was the earth unformed and surrounded by darkness. Then God said, "Let there be light." And out of nowhere, there was light. And then he separated the light and the dark and named them day and night. On the second day, he created a canopy and called it the sky. On the third day, God created the land and all of the world's vegetation. On the fourth day, God created the sun and the moon and all of the stars in the universe. On the fifth day, God created all of the flying creatures and all of the sea creatures and saw that it was good. On the sixth day, God created land animals and then man from the soil of the earth. He named man Adam, and from the rib of Adam he created Eve. On the seventh day, God rested and saw that everything he had created was good.
As it says in Genesis chapter 2, verse 23, "Then the man said, 'At last, here is one of my own kind, bone taken from my bone, and flesh from my flesh. Woman is her name, because she was taken out of man.'" God gave free rein over the entire Garden of Eden to Adam and Eve. God then told Adam and Eve to take care of all he created, because it is as much theirs as it is his.
Then God told Adam and Eve they were allowed to eat from any tree in the garden. But then, one day, when Eve was alone and Adam was working in the fields, the serpent approached Eve.
And convinced Eve to eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Eve then went to Adam and told him what the serpent said. They both then went and ate from the tree of knowledge. And the next day, God realized that Adam and Eve were clothed, and realized they had eaten from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. So he asked Adam, Why have you eaten from the tree of knowledge of good and evil?" Adam replied, "It's not my fault. Eve told me to." And so he went and asked Eve, "Eve, why did you eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil?" And Eve replied, "Well, the serpent told me it was okay to, so therefore I did." This was the first original sin, and the start of the fall of humanity from the Garden of Eden forever. This may have been the fall from the garden for humanity, but it does not mean we cannot come back into the graces of God by redemption through asking God for forgiving our sins and being actually repentant and forgiving of what we have done and knowing that what we have done is wrong. We can then go back into the good graces of God and into paradise in heaven. The serpent said in Genesis chapter 3, verses 4 through 5, "You will not certainly die," the serpent said to the woman, "for God knows that when you eat from it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil." This quote from the serpent is a representation of figurative language used in Genesis. The serpent represents temptation. But for example, when the serpent is tempting Adam and Eve to eat the fruit from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil.
Genesis chapters 1 through 11 are not meant to be taken literally. They are just stories that teach us guidelines about how to live our lives.